Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, this time from a new location. As you can see, I've moved. As many of you know, I have restarted studying and I'm actually doing a master in musical engineering right now. So I'm in my student flat right now, it's a new place. As you can see, I'm trying to get set up and have everything correct. So for now, this is kind of a test, see if everything works well. Of course, new microphone placement, new speaker placement, new camera placement, everything new. And just trying out a few different things, seeing if this is how I want it to. I think the camera is good, but I would like to hear your opinions, especially because now we have a new background again, and it might be a bit distracting, so I might need to move it around a little bit, see if I can kind of get a little bit more of a neutral background. Hey guys, I just wanted to quickly say, if you want to support this channel, go to my Spotify or Apple Music. There you can follow me and add some of my songs to your daily listening playlist. Thank you very much. Let's get back into the video. For now, I just want to get into a video where I want to answer a question I got on stream today. So I'm recording this on Sunday, and I got a question on stream about how you would go about deciding when a bass line is finished, when a sound is finished actually. We can actually generalize that question to anything in music production. When do you decide to stop? But for now, I just want to basically go over the bass line aspect, because I think it's very clear how you should approach your bass line. I think there's a very clear stepped approach that you can apply to get decent bass lines, at least for the start of your production, so you can worry about other things. And if then you find out that the bass line isn't exactly how you want it to be, you can always go back into it. It's important that for music production that you don't get hooked into the details right at the start of your project, so that all of your creativity isn't wasted on those little details, listening to the same bass line again and again to find the little things that you're tweaking, the very minute changes that you make. It can be very disheartening when you're producing, and therefore it is important that you quickly get a bass line out for the start, and then once you have your idea rolling, that gives you the creativity you need to actually produce something and get an idea out on top and get a full song on top. Then you can worry about the actual details that sit in your bass line. So for that, I'm going to walk you through my step plan on how I start off with my bass line and how I actually decide when I need to move on in other things in my production. So I don't have a project for this video generally, because it's not really necessary to kind of show this into a project. It's just kind of a mindset that I want you to walk through. So for this, I'm just going to keep it full camera and just talk you through the approach. So there's 5 steps that I do to really get my bass line lined out for the start. Each of these steps only takes a few minutes at maximum. I don't spend a lot of time on these, mainly because, as I said, the idea is to quickly write down a bass line. And if you find that once your production is finished, once your idea is finished, the bass line still doesn't work with the idea, then you can always go back and make changes and try to reevaluate what is actually wrong within the idea. Because then also you have the framework of your track, which you can use to judge your bass line with. You might find that, for example, your bass line isn't really sounding correct at the start of your production, at the start of your project, but once you add all of the elements on top, it actually starts to glue things nicely together. That's a very big problem is that I see in producers, is that they spend a lot of time on their bass line, and then they have all these neat little details, neat little tricks in their bass line, and they start adding the other elements on top that you need for your production to sound correct. And then what you end up with is that those little details, you cannot really hear them. So it's just time wasted at the end of the day. At the end of the production, you could have spent that time much more creatively and maybe try to get some other ideas on top of it, some lead sounds, some effects, some vocals, whatever other thing that you might be working on. So the first thing is synthesis. Now what you want to do within synthesis is that you want to take it very, very quickly. You want to really run through a patch. You want to be able to ideally get a bassline patch out of, for example, synth like Serum or Faceplant or Vital, whatever you're using, in a few minutes, maximum 2-3 minutes. And that's because the main bulk of your bassline creation, the detail thing, doesn't really happen within the synth. You tend to get the best results if you put all of the processing outside of the synth, so any effects that you want to use on it. So it's purely generating the sound, so generating the saw wave that you're using. Generally speaking, you use a saw wave, and then creating the filter movement in the bass line, and that's really all that there is to your bassline synthesis. Maybe you want to add velocity so that you can sidechain using the velocity, but that's about it. There shouldn't be a lot more stuff happening. Then the second part is for this initial bassline that you've created. You want to do all of the processing. So any multiband processing that you're using, any saturation, any compression, any EQ, all of this, you want to kind of do that in the context of your kick and your bass. So usually you start out with your kick and then you create your bassline, and then you just want to kind of fit them together, make them sound nice, and you do that by processing your bassline, obviously. Then the third step is to decide within the context of your song that you're trying to write, and this can be the hardest step. If you need any layers, if you need any extra detail, if you need any extra little elements that sit on top of your bassline. And I'm actually preparing a video on one of the elements that you could put on there, which is a stereo layer. So that will hopefully be the next video that I'm going to upload. I don't really know the order in which I upload them. It might already be on the channel, so maybe have a look for that if I upload it before. But yeah, as I said, you're basically creating all of the little details right now that you ideally want to add in here. And the same thing applies in that you don't really want to spend a lot of time on the patches and the processing. Ideally, you want to get a patch out in a few minutes and just to have an idea of what you're working towards. So you might add a click layer, you might add a stereo layer, you might add some rhythmical layers, some bass notes that only play once in a while and not on every bass note, to get some kind of groove in your bass line. If you're working in a more progressive style, you might add the extra bass stabs, bass glides, whatever you put in between the bass notes that you're working with. But basically this is where you glue the bass line together with the rest of the track through adding layers, adding extra sounds to it to create from your main bass patch go to basically the full bass sounds, the full range of sounds that you're going to use for your complete bass line. The fourth step is to complete your production, do all of the other things that you need to do, any effects, leads, vocals, pads, any other drums maybe. And during this process, what you mainly want to look out for in regards to your bass line is any problems that might occur throughout the various layers, throughout maybe your main bass patch and stuff like that. And then the final step is obviously to clean them up. But some problems that you might run into is that some of the layers are too prominent in particular parts of the track. Maybe you have a stereo layer which is a little bit gritty that you want when all of the leads are playing, but if you have a piece where you just want a vocal, you might note that you don't want to have it there. So this is the point where you just note that, and maybe if you're very certain of your problem, you might actually want to tackle it. But usually what I do is I leave that towards the end of the production. When the idea is finished, I can go over my bass line and see these are all of the problems that I've noted during the production. Now let's all fix them. So that gets us to the final step, and this is the most important one, and that is gluing your bass line together with the rest of the track, because obviously you're trying to create a full track and not just a kick and bass. At the end of the day, the kick and bass isn't as important as people make it out to be if you're not focusing on the rest of your track. Your lead elements also need to be in order, your theming needs to be in order, your arrangement needs to be in order, your mixing, your mastering, all of the aspects of a track need to be in order for it to be a good track. And just focusing on the kick and bass isn't enough, because there are many talented producers who can lay down a nice kick and bass, and if that's the only ability that you have, you're not going to create the best music that you can. You need to make the whole picture fit together. So problems that you might run into is phasing issues between your kick and your bass. This is where you usually tend to resample things and kind of clean up your bass stabs. If you're working with just one kick and one bass and not any layers, this is where you just resample that bass layer and add some fades, add some processing to maybe clean it up, make sure that there's no post-ringing on it, make sure that you have a clean transient on both the kick and the bass line. So that just makes it easier to mix things later on. And other things include making sure that the EQ is set correctly, making sure that the volumes are set correctly, making sure that there's, again, no clashing between, for example, very gritty elements and any lead sounds that you have. If you have a lot of gritty elements in your bassline, like a stereo layer, some gritty layers, some click layers, all of those nice things, and you also have a lot of leads on top of that, it might be very hard to mix that particular section of the track. So there you need to make compromises in which layers you actually want to put in there. For example, if you have a very big wide stereo lead, it might not be necessary to also have a very stereo bass line. So you can remove some, if not all, of the stereo layers that you have in your bass line. So again, I want to reiterate that the point of finishing your bass line and making sure that you're moving on to the rest of your production isn't so much on where do I stop. It's just a kind of mindset that at the start of your production, you really don't want to focus on the details. And throughout this step process, it kind of becomes an automatic flow of hammering out those details throughout the whole production, and instead of starting with the kick and bass. Because if you start with the kick and bass and you worry about the details, you don't have anything to compare it to, and therefore you're just going to continue on piling on and piling on. And that's a problem that I see a lot of producers struggle with, is that they have a kick and bass in isolation and they don't worry about the full production. So to finally answer the question on how do I make sure that I don't run away and spend too much time on your kick and bass, is to just tell yourself that you can finish your kick and bass at the end of a production once you have the full production written out and you know exactly what your kick and bass needs to do. And obviously this also counts for the kick. I've particularly focused on the bass, but you can also apply this method to the kick. You can apply this method to drums. You can apply this method to particular lead sounds that you're not sure about. Once you have a full production and a full idea, you can say, okay, does this really sound the way I want it to sound, or do I need to make changes to it? So this is going to be the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, despite a little different format of me just talking to a camera without actually showing any examples. That's because this is more about psychology than really music production. The struggle to worry about details is very natural for people, especially when you're trying to make the best production that you can. So for that, I hope these tips helps to, for example, kind of stretch out your workflow and divide it over the whole production. That way you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, this was just to answer that question I got in the live stream, and I hope it helps you. I hope you can find a new mindset that you can use to more easily finish productions and make good kicks and bass while doing so. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Let me know what you think about the new backdrop, what you think about this format. Leave a comment down below if you have any other questions. I am going to try to live stream a little bit more, and I'm also going to set up a little bit of a structure around that, try to get things a little bit more professional, because we had some technical issues. So there's definitely some things that I need to worry about. But for now, this is going to be the video. I don't know when I'm going to be live streaming, by the way. As I said, I just started studying, so my schedule isn't exactly known to me, so I'll have to find that out. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.